Revenge with Violet. Savannah said it so casually, like she was just ordering an oat milk latte, not gutting my entire career. It was 9:03 a.m. She was dressed in some kind of floral fever dream. The kind of outfit that looked like a TJ Maxx display rack had wandered into a bottomless mimosa brunch. And to top it off, she was holding a fidget spinner. No eye contact. No weight to her words, just vibes and hubris. We were supposed to be in a quarterly compliance review, the boring but necessary ritual that kept us from landing in orange jumpsuits when the auditors came sniffing around. Instead, she blindsided me with a pink slip. On letterhead. The very same letterhead I had designed years ago, back when dignity still mattered in HR. Her hand, fresh with gel polish, held that paper like it was a wedding invite to her own promotion party. "We're moving toward leaner systems," she said, like she even knew what a certificate chain was. I didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't even blink. I just reached into my laptop bag, pulled out my secure access dongle, the one with my initials carved into its chrome, and placed it gently on the desk. Not angrily, not dramatically, just quietly, like setting down a tombstone. She didn't even look at it. And let me pause here. If you're the kind of person who loves seeing karma strut into a glass office with stilettos on, you're gonna want to subscribe. Seriously, 93% of you watch without hitting that button, and it kills the team's spirit faster than a failed password reset. Subscribing? That's like handing us a coffee after 12 hours in the IT war trenches. Anyway, I walked out before Savannah could fill the air with more buzzword salad. Didn't even give her the satisfaction of seeing my face. The elevator hummed in silence. Just me, my thoughts, and the fluorescent buzz of betrayal. 14 years. 14 years of building a data relay system designed to survive a hurricane, a cyber strike, or even, God help us, a federal budget freeze. And it was all erased with one sentence. A sentence that sounded like it was drafted by an intern on Adderall. By the time I passed reception, Savannah had already updated her LinkedIn. Excited to lead a new era of agility and operational excellence. Sometimes optimization means tough choices. Hashtags and all. No one questioned her. Not the CEO, her uncle, who was probably sipping turmeric shots and assuming compliance was just a bullet point on a PowerPoint. Not HR, who ghosted me the second I asked about severance. And definitely not the board. Too busy funneling millions to consultants to bother reading my report about the dangers of single-point keyholder failure. Because here's the thing. I wasn't just cybersecurity lead. I was the keyholder of record on a $400 million government relay contract. My credentials weren't just passwords. They were fingerprint mapped, encrypted, and triple verified across agencies. You don't replace that with a Slack message and a Starbucks card, but Savannah didn't know that. And no one told her, so I went home. Sat on the porch swing with a cup of lukewarm tea, listening to the wind drag through brittle September leaves. And I thought about the systems, running on inertia, ticking toward a wall they didn't even see coming. Without my clearance, the whole thing was just waiting to choke. And at 9:42 a.m., 39 minutes after I laid that dongle down like a landmine, the first call came in. Ops floor phone. That soft ring nobody answers unless it's pizza or panic. This time it was panic. Special Liaison Abrahams from Federal Compliance. His voice carried that polite dread, like a priest at a mafia funeral. "Hi there," he said, almost cheerful. "We're seeing a failure on the secure relay system. Node Delta 9 cut off mid-sequence. Any idea what's happening?" The intern who answered nearly swallowed his gum. Put Abrahams on hold, like that was even a thing you do, and patched him to Savannah. She answered like she was still ordering brunch. "Oh, that's weird. We're just streamlining today. Probably a handoff glitch." The silence that followed could have crushed the Wi-Fi. "Ma'am," Abraham said, "per Clause 14A, penalties begin after 30 minutes of sustained downtime. You're at 27. I suggest escalating, and if this isn't fixed by 10:12, we'll be notifying the Inspector General." Just like that, the thin line between incompetence and catastrophe split wide open. Savannah bolted down the hall like it was a Nordstrom flash sale. Manny, poor Manny, was mid-Pop-Tart with his noise-canceling headphones on. She yanked them off like she was defusing a bomb. I need you to reassign credentials. To me now. Manny blinked, half-asleep cat mode. Reassign. What? My access, she barked. Kathleen's gone. I need to rekey the system. He turned, pulled up the admin portal, tapped a few keys. Screen flashed red. I can't. Savannah leaned in. Why the hell not? He swallowed hard. It's locked. Says, awaiting reauthentication by keyholder of record, K. Davis. Looks like she didn't just leave. She flagged chain of custody. Compliance protocol. Her face froze. Like the screen had just insulted her shoes. Manny scrolled deeper. New keyholder vetting takes 72 hours minimum. Background checks, fingerprints, federal clearance. The works. Savannah's hands fluttered. Full paper bag panic mode. Legal called. Short and sharp. Don't override. You'll trigger breach review, Abrahams called back. His tone colder this time. You're past the limit. Contract penalties begin now. 100,000 an hour. Prorated. Should we expect the keyholder to resolve this remotely? Savannah tried to smile. It twitched drunk puppet style. She's no longer with the company. Silence. Then dry as ash. Well then. You might want to get her back, she hung up. Stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the wall like it held the secrets of the universe. Behind her, the IT screen glowed. System locked. Keyholder unavailable. Meanwhile, I was in my kitchen, watching the rain tap at the window like it had a message just for me. My phone lit up. Blocked number. I let it ring. Then Slack. Then email. Urgent. Service disruption. I just sipped my tea. I took another sip of tea. Somewhere deep in that glass palace of brunch and buzzwords, the empire had already begun to wobble. And it was only 10:17. By 10:34, the server room was alive with panic, humming like a disturbed beehive. Executives were scrambling, stomping down hallways, chasing shadows of control. Poor Manny had pulled in Carol, the lead systems engineer, a woman who looked like she'd rather perform her own dental surgery than deal with Savannah's unraveling kingdom. Carol stared at the monitor, adjusted her bifocals, and muttered the words Savannah feared most. Oh, hell no. The credentials weren't just locked. They were sealed. Because I hadn't just walked out, I'd pulled the lever on a federal protocol. A credential pause, triggering a fail-safe encryption layer so tight, even their own shadows couldn't slip past it. Every node, every tunnel, every certificate tied to my clearance was now wrapped in a compliance cocoon. To unwrap it, they'd need 3 agencies, a background check, fingerprints, and Tier 4 clearance. Carol delivered it like bad news in an ER. Rekeying's not happening. Not today, not this week. 72 hours minimum. Savannah's jaw dropped. Can't we expedite it? Carol blinked at her. Expedite federal clearance? What do you want? A fast pass for Homeland Security. That's when the calls began. First, my personal cell. Twice. Then my private signal line. Then my landline, which hadn't rung since the Obama years. All ignored. By 10:50, Savannah was sweating through her blazer, resorting to Slack. 10:52 a.m. Hey, I know things got tense. Can we talk? 10:54 a.m. Please call me. It's about the relay situation. 10:55 a.m. Kathleen Piaz. They're freaking out. The messages stacked up like unpaid bills. And me? I sat on the porch, clouds shifting overhead like tectonic plates, slicing a banana into my cereal. Because here's the truth. People like me don't get loud when we're angry. We go quiet. And when the room finally notices the silence, it's already too late. Inside the war room, panic spread like smoke. A board member finally appeared. Bill, silver-haired, golf-obsessed, and usually half asleep behind his stock app. He leaned into his webcam, squinting at Savannah. Why wasn't this credential risk reviewed before she was fired? The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. The CEO stammered something about documentation. Savannah tried to back him up, mumbling about portability, until Bill cut her off. Jesus. Did nobody ask her what exactly she had authority over? No one spoke. Even legal wanted to melt into the carpet. That's when my inbox pinged. A message from the Federal Compliance Office itself. The subject line, clearance verification, role status confirmation. The body, short and formal. Miss Davis, please confirm. Are you still serving in this capacity, or has there been a change in employment status? The name at the bottom wasn't just some clerk. It was a man whose signature I'd only ever seen on classified memos. And once, on a Treasury-embossed Christmas card. I leaned back, let the tea cool, and listened to the wind stir the porch chimes into an eerie lullaby. For the first time all morning, they were finally asking the right person. By 1:06 p.m., the relay timer had bled into its third hour. Penalties stacking like casino chips. $300,000 down, and every minute cost them another $1,666. The company was hemorrhaging. And still, they had no one who could stop it. Then came the email. Not CC'd, not softened, just a blunt subject line from a government address heavy enough to freeze the CEO's assistant mid-keystroke. Incident classification, priority. The body cut like steel. This qualifies as a priority incident under Section 5.2 of your federal contract. Inspector General has been notified. Prepare full access logs and credential documentation within 24 hours. Savannah leaned over the CEO's shoulder, color draining from her face until she looked like skim milk left in the sun. She tried to speak, voice trembling. Okay, well then. We just hire Kathleen back. Just temporarily. Just to fix it. Legal didn't even glance up. Absolutely not. Why not? The general counsel's pen tapped the table like a metronome, her voice cold as an air conditioner in January. Because that would be an admission of negligence, liability. Vendors could sue. You want a class action clause review on top of this? Savannah's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The CEO pressed his temples like he could hold his brain together by sheer force. But legal wasn't finished. If we rehire her now, we don't just get audited. We get investigated. And that's when the CFO joined the call, his Zoom square blinking alive like a guillotine blade. Spreadsheets blurred behind him, jaw sharp enough to cut glass. His voice was flat, lethal. I want a stakeholder call in 30 minutes. Everyone. Including Kathleen. Savannah blinked. But she's the keyholder, the CFO snapped. She's the only one who can stop this bleeding. And I'm not watching another $100,000 evaporate while you argue optics. And just like that, her kingdom of hashtags and buzzwords was rubble. The same board that had toasted her agile restructuring weeks ago now acted like they'd never learned her name. As for me, I was typing. My reply to the compliance officer was short, precise, and sharp enough to draw blood. Subject, role status confirmation. Body. I am no longer serving in the keyholder role effective 9:04 a.m. today. A credential pause was executed per federal protocol due to my termination. Please direct further questions to my former employer. Send. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was the CFO's direct line. I let it ring out, voicemail swallowing his desperation. Because in that moment, the white-hot sting of betrayal shifted, hardened, turned into something colder, cleaner. They didn't need my forgiveness. They needed my fingerprint, and I was done giving those away for free. By 1:37 p.m., the Zoom tiles filled like an episode of Survivor, except the island was on fire. The prize was survival, and the penalties bled millions by the hour. The CFO sat dead center. Tie loosened. Jaw clenched. Eyes fixed. The game had changed. Still proudly proclaiming a streamlined transition that cost them nearly $500,000 in a single afternoon. The silence in that virtual boardroom was brutal. 23 faces frozen. The kind of silence that doesn't just hang. It indicts. Savannah tried to swallow it, eyes darting like she could find an escape hatch in the pixels. There wasn't one. The CFO cleared his throat, voice like a closing door. Thank you, Kathleen. That's all we need from you. I gave a single nod, closed my file, and logged off. No victory speech, no smirk. Just quiet, deliberate absence. Because sometimes silence echoes louder than fireworks. Back in their square grid of panic, the fallout began. Savannah's square dimmed, muted, finally vanished altogether. HR moved her name in the org chart before dinner. By morning, her back Monday Slack status had been replaced with deactivated account. The board issued their statement, sterile, polished, and empty. Words about resilience and learning opportunities, the corporate equivalent of sweeping glass under a rug. But buried deep in the compliance log, there it was. Keyholder of record, Davis. K active. And that's the line that mattered. Because for all their brunch and buzzword empires, all their hashtags and hashtags about hashtags, they'd been reminded of one truth they couldn't bury under jargon. The walls that held their empire weren't built by slogans. They were built by me, and when I go quiet, the sky falls. I'm interested in structural change, clearer documentation, a chain of command that doesn't crumble the moment someone swaps buzzwords for understanding. The room went still. Everyone knew what I was really saying. I wasn't their problem. Their ignorance was. The CFO leaned forward, hands folded, voice sharp but measured. What exactly do you want? I didn't rush. I let the question breathe, let the tension ferment. Then I spoke, calm as a surgeon with a steady hand. Investment, authority, and the guarantee that no one, ever again, can fire a keyholder without a documented succession plan. Legal scribbled notes like the pen might save her soul. The CEO nodded once, the kind of nod that carries exhaustion more than agreement. But he knew. They all knew I wasn't asking. I was defining the future. Because here's the thing about people like me. We don't need headlines or applause. We don't care about corner offices or ribbon-cutting ceremonies. We care about systems. About walls that hold when storms hit. About contracts that don't bleed out because someone confused agile with careless. And now, in that quiet conference room, they finally saw it. The system had done exactly what I designed it to do. It didn't fail. They did. I closed my folder, calm, deliberate. You can call it oversight. You can call it negligence. But don't call it sabotage. Because the only reason you still have a system to argue over— I paused, let their eyes lock on me— is because I built it to survive you. No one argued. No one even breathed. The silence was complete, final, like the heavy click of a locked vault. And for the first time since 9:03 a.m. the day before, I felt it. That sharp edge of satisfaction. Not revenge. Not even vindication. Just the clean, undeniable truth settling into place. The system was alive. The penalties were real. The audit was coming. And the empire of brunch and buzzwords had finally learned who really held the keys. The offer came without ceremony. No speeches, no spin. Just a folder on cream paper, initials from HR, the company seal pressed into the corner, and 3 lines that rewrote the balance of power. Interim Chief Operating Officer. Mandate, compliance integration. Full systems veto. Budget discretion. Route authority. No one mentioned Savannah. They didn't need to. By then, she'd already been folded so far into the margins of the org chart, she might as well have been doing brand audits for intern orientation. Her keycard was dead. Her laptop boxed. Her presence reduced to a silent advisory alias no one ever copied. I held the letter, read it once, and nodded. That was enough. True power doesn't need to posture. It doesn't demand apologies or parades. It just takes its seat back at the table and begins again. By 4 o'clock, the new badge was ready. Level 5 Systems Command. Davis K at 437. I stood outside the server room. The machines hummed steady, the way they always had, like a heartbeat under steel. Manny looked up from his console as I passed, eyes wide, like he'd seen a ghost. Only this time, the kind you're relieved to meet. The scanner blinked patiently, waiting. I pressed the badge to the reader. The light turned green. The door clicked open. Inside, the air was cool, clean, almost reverent. Every layer of code, every relay and redundant safeguard still standing. Bruised, yes, but unbroken. The system hadn't faltered. It hadn't given itself away. It had simply waited. For me. And in that moment, I understood. Quiet triumph isn't applause. It isn't headlines or victory laps. It's the silence that follows when a room full of people finally realize the one truth they never wanted to admit. They tried to erase me. The system refused, and now I was back.